We'll go ahead and begin and welcome to this afternoon's agenda meeting. We'll be reviewing the action items that will be formally addressed next Tuesday, September 2nd, day after Labor Day.
Already.
Mr. Bill Burrow, our city manager, will review those action items. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. You will have a guest that evening. Professor Chisholm will be here with some students from National Park College. They'll be here as your guests. We don't have it on the agenda just yet, but they will be here that evening. First item on your consent agenda is consider resolution R-25-160, a resolution approving amendments to the 2025 budget for the city of Hot Springs, Arkansas, and our finance director, Karen Scott, will present.
Good afternoon. These amendments have been discussed in your work session when we were talking about goal setting, except one. So let me move on. The Board of Directors adopted the 2025 budget by approving resolution number 10552 on November 19th, 2024. After an analysis of mid-year expenditures, a few 2025 budget amendments are needed. They are as follows. In the District Court Automation Fund, we need an amendment of $25,000 into non-capital equipment to add funds that were inadvertently left off of the 2025 approved budget. In the Police Fund, Animal Services Department, we need an additional $8,000 in overtime to add funds for overtime due to increases in volume and workload at the animal shelter. This is the additional item that we did not discuss at the work session. In the Airport Fund, we need $105,000 for vehicle repair outside shop to repair the AARF fire truck required to be stationed at the airport fire station. And in the Employee Wellness Fund, an additional $20,000 for professional services to contract with a vendor to conduct a citywide employee survey. I might note that we have become aware of an opportunity to lease a fire truck for the airport, and we're still looking at that option, but we did decide to kind of leave this on the agenda for right now. That lease would be slightly higher than the $105,000, but we would have an operating truck pretty quickly for about the same amount. So the financial impact would be that all of 4 of these amendments would reduce the fund balances in each of those funds. And staff recommends the board approve the budget amendments.
So just to add to that, the ARF truck's about 18 years old. Needs a little over $100,000 worth of repair. In addition, once we get the truck back, we're going to have it have the AFFF, which is the foam, removed from the truck, which is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about $9,000 to $10,000, and then new product put in. There's been a change in what's approved for the ARF trucks. So as we're vetting out the leasing option, should we put $105,000 or $115,000 into a truck that's 18 years old? Should we try to lease for 1, maybe 2 years while a new ARF truck is being built? We're able to move that up in the airport's FAA CIP plan. We believe the truck would be a 95.5 grant, so we think we can get the new truck at no cost. But we would have to potentially lease that for a couple of years. And I want to say the lease amount was just a tad over $86,000. So still trying to vet that out. We want to keep this on your agenda, get it approved. We may have to come back, or I may have to move that over to the lease if that's the way we go. But we need to keep it in the budget as an option because right now we don't have an ARF truck at the airport. And that is a mandate.
Any questions of Karen? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is consider resolution R-25-161, a resolution authorizing the annual filing and acceptance of the National Park Service Paul Bruin Historic Revitalization Grant application in support of Hot Springs Housing Strategy implementation. And our Planning and Development Director, Kathy Selman, will discuss the item.
Thank you. In 2024, the city was granted $750,000 under the National Park Service Paul Bruin Historic Revitalization Grants Program to support programs that enable rehabilitation of National Register historic properties to rehabilitate historic structures, to provide affordable housing in support of the Hot Springs Housing Strategy. Now, the Hot Springs Housing Strategy documents 4,000 vacant structures in the city, as well as a need for 5,000 additional housing units. The goal of creating new housing within historic buildings strongly aligns with both the city's comprehensive plan, Hot Springs 2040, Forward Hot Springs, and the Heritage and Historic Preservation Plan, currently pending adoption by the Board of Directors. The grant itself has 3 major objectives: to create affordable housing to meet the current shortage, to demonstrate that historic structures can be rehabilitated into housing, and to increase the number of occupied historic buildings. Now, regarding that grant that we received, the deadline was this week, and we received 12 applications, which have not been evaluated at this time, 8 of which are for projects located within either the Hot Springs downtown, Central Avenue Historic District, or the Pleasant Street Historic District. If received in a future year, the grant funds would support the city awarding subgrants via competitive local grant program, such as we had for this year's grant. The target areas would be any of the 525 structures within the city listed on the National Register of Historic Places, either individually or as a contributing resource in one of the 18 historic districts within the city, representing the city's history from the 1880s through 1975. If the city is successful in receiving a second round of funding, the program would be expanded to benefit homeowners who fit the income guidelines for affordable housing, up to $87,750 for a 4-person household, to finance repairs to their historic homes. The city is applying for another $750,000. This is a zero-match grant. And we are requesting that the Board of Directors authorize application annually for funding to the Paul Brune Historic Revitalization Program for as long as the program exists.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Holliday.
Thank you. It's a little bit about the 2024, but it's sort of how we would move forward. Do we have a work session, or how are we going to make the determination of those 12? I know you've got kind of level 1 to make sure that they're all able to be funded, but will it be like CDBG where we have just a list? Or, because I know at one point we had discussed, do we put all 750 into a giant structure perhaps? Do we do 20 project? How do we, and we've not had those detailed conversations. So sort of what's the next steps, and will that apply to our future process?
That's a great question, and I can tell you that there is a small group of staff and the chair of the Historic District Commission who will go through those, rate and rank them using a rubric that was supplied to the funding agency, and at that point we'll determine what's eligible and recommend an ordered list of funding. If that would be approved by the board, I will tell you I cannot recall that that is the case, but it may be.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Is there a geographic area that this has to be in, or just any historic structure?
The resolution that the board passed in 2024 designated it for the Central Avenue Historic District and Pleasant Street Historic District areas. And, should it be that there are not eligible applicants totaling 750,000, I think at that point, we would be looking at asking the board, do we reach out further? But as of right now, it is those two locally ordinanced historic districts.
Very good. Any additional questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R-25-124, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 302 Lincoln Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. And I believe our city attorney is going to discuss this one.
Yeah, Mayor, members of the board, this is old business, as Bill just mentioned. This came to you before, and the board agreed to table it for 60 days to allow them to get a handle on the estate. The attorney for the estate in this matter, Mr. Woodfork's estate, Terry Diggs, had passed away. Nothing had transpired since that time. I can report to you that the estate has retained new counsel, and that counsel's been approved by the court. And so ultimately, when this comes back to you, it's on your agenda. It has to stay on the agenda. But I'll probably be recommending that we extend it again, table it again until October 4th to allow the new attorney to get this thing wrapped up.
Any questions of Brian? Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R-25-144, a resolution amending resolution number 10336, Exhibit A, by updating the operator's rate schedule set out in the non-exclusive franchise agreement for the operation of a specialty transit service by Jason Bennett, doing business as JJ's Pedicabs, and our city clerk, Harmony Morrissey, will discuss the item.
Thank you. This is coming back to you as old business because on August 5th, the board considered Mr. Bennett's request and voted 4-3 to refer his request to the Transportation Advisory Committee for a recommendation on his proposed rate increase. Following that August 5th meeting, Mr. Bennett did submit several items in support of his request. Those were submitted to TAC and included in their packet. You will see those in yours as well. That include a written request, his statement justifying his rate increase, as well as some receipts, and 2 statements from local businesses regarding price increases. He also included several photos. The Transportation Advisory Committee met on August 18th and reviewed those materials and heard testimony from Mr. Bennett. The committee voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the rate increase from $2 to $5 within the downtown business district and within the Oaklawn area that he is allowed to operate in, as well as a $1 per person per minute rate for sightseeing type tours in the downtown business district. There will be a link to that TAC meeting for you all to watch if you so choose. The rest of the materials will be included in your packet as well that TAC reviewed. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and Mr. Bennett will be here at the meeting next week.
Any questions of Ms. Morrissey? Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R-25-162, a resolution temporarily waiving zoning requirements and conditionally approving an application for a temporary dwelling unit at 221 Ida Street pursuant to Hot Springs Code 16-1-8. And again, Ms. Selman.
Thank you. Hot Springs Code, Section 1618, states that in the event that an otherwise lawfully existing structure is rendered uninhabitable or unusable due to emergency or extraordinary circumstances, the owner or lessee may make application for placement and occupancy of a temporary structure. Should such application be approved, the otherwise applicable provisions of the zoning code or mobile home ordinance are hereby waived per the terms and conditions established by the board in connection with such emergency or extraordinary circumstances. On January 21st of this year, the board passed a resolution permitting Ms. Debbie Cole's 6 months occupancy conditioned upon a building permit being issued within 30 days, a certificate of occupancy being issued by July 21st, 2025, only if the building was code compliant utility connections were provided, and the recreational vehicle in which she is staying would be removed from the site. Ms. Coles continues to occupy the recreational vehicle. The compliant utility connections have not been provided. Utilities were coming from an adjacent neighbor, and the structure is not yet code compliant. Ms. Coles reports that one window was replaced during the 6 months. She's now requesting a second 6-month approval. The situation is now that she states she has no alternative living arrangement, and is asking that you approve her continued occupancy in a recreational vehicle on the site at 221 Ida Street. Should you approve that request, it would be reasonable to attach a condition that she obtain a building permit for repairs to the structure, that the approval is subject to the code, and it should expire on March 3rd, 2026, and provided also that a certificate of occupancy for the permanent structure will not be issued until the temporary use of the travel trailer has been discontinued and the permanent structure complies with all applicable construction codes. And we have had no complaints regarding this temporary situation, and Ms. Coles is requesting your consideration in this matter.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Kathy, can you include, I'm sure you will, what the code states as far as requirements for temporary dwelling unit? Like especially the timeline itself, if we were to approve.
That's it.
That's it?
That's all we have.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the timeline for temporary dwelling?
It is 6 months.
6 months?
Yes.
Okay. And would this be the second application for
It
temporary
is.
that she would have requested?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then you mentioned earlier, no complaints
None.
from other residents, the surrounding residents?
No, we have had no complaints. I researched that further today. I thought that was a question that might come up.
Thank you.
Kathy, what's the long-term plan? Is there some resolution out there, or is it just
Well,
going to keep rolling to 6 months?
Ms. Coles has provided a letter to you, and she notes that she is working with a bank on financing. I have no further detail on that than what she noted in her letter, but her intent is to obtain financing that would allow her to bring the house up to code and to become a viable home for her.
Okay. Any additional questions of the board? Hearing none. Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R25-163, a resolution adopting the Hot Springs Heritage and Historic Preservation Plan dated June 30th, 2025. Ms. Selman.
Thank you. The city was able to receive a grant from the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program for the preparation of a citywide heritage and historic preservation plan. This work started in September of 2024, included 4 public meetings. They were in December, February, and May. And in addition, an online survey allowed people to participate without attending a meeting. One interesting thing about the meetings, one of those meetings was scheduled for a day that we had a big snowstorm, and we had a tremendous turnout at that meeting. So people are very excited about this. The plan itself is in 2 parts. The first is an inventory of our resources, tools, and regulations in Hot Springs. And the second part is an implementation matrix for goals, policies, and actions. The plan goals are, number one, a comprehensive understanding of Hot Springs history and heritage resources as a basis for future preservation and stewardship efforts. Number two, to be a history and heritage resource information that would be accessible throughout the city. Number three, to be a vibrant and revitalized historic property and place through new investment and incentives, effective tools and methods for promoting preservation and stewardship in Hot Springs, to develop a deeper and more meaningful community understanding of Hot Springs history and heritage, and to develop an effective and active local historic preservation program. Now, while the plan is aspirational, Hot Springs citizens deeply felt appreciation for their city's rich cultural and historic tapestry was obvious in those who participated. And we were able to incorporate many public comments verbatim throughout the plan. And the plan will be included in your packet. And even if you don't read it from front to back, you can flip through it and find some fascinating things. This was a very interesting project, and I think we have a great outcome. Implementation, of course, will occur incrementally in some times between decisions of the board and their Historic District Commission, and also through private investment that occurs. At their duly advertised, regularly scheduled August 21st, 2025 public meeting, the Historic District Commission called for testimony, and after considering the record, voted unanimously to recommend that the board approve a resolution adopting the Hot Springs Heritage and Historic Preservation Plan dated June 30th, 2025.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Sullivan? Thank you.
Next, we have, this would be your first ordinance of the evening. Consider ordinance O-2533, an ordinance amending the zoning map from CG General Commercial to Institutional District for land generally located at 170 Section Line Way, has an RPID number of 107193, and for other purposes. And Ms. Selman.
Thank you. The applicant is Garland County, represented by Daniel George with Crafton Tull, and the request is for INST institutional zoning for this land. It's owned by St. Joseph's Mercy Health System Incorporated, represented by Crystal Bohannon, and it's currently zoned general commercial, and has a future land use classification of community commercial center, and it's located in Board District number 5. The site is located west of Higdon Ferry Road, behind Central Arkansas Rehabilitation, across from Washita Regional Counseling on Section Line Way. The property has approximately 775 feet of frontage on Section Line Way. Adjacent and nearby uses include a rehabilitation building, retail center, regional counseling building, medical office buildings, undeveloped land, and auto repair. Hot Springs Code states the purpose of the INST institutional district is to accommodate larger governmental uses, public and private educational facilities, civic and cultural facilities, healthcare institutions, places of worship, and similar institutions within a more campus-like environment. This property is consistent with the concept and description for the INST zone, and therefore is consistent with the objective of the zoning code. The finding to Planning Commission is that the property's future land use classification of community commercial center is consistent with the requested INST zoning, and it's also consistent with adjacent properties to the east along Higdon Ferry Road. The finding to Planning Commission is that applicant has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met. Planning Commission is able to establish a basis for recommending to the board that the proposed change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning and is consistent with the objectives of the zoning code. Planning Commission, at their duly advertised August 14, 2025 meeting, after calling for testimony and considering the record, voted 7-0 to accept the staff report findings and recommendation that the Board of Directors approve an ordinance rezoning the subject land at approximately 170 Section Line Way to INST. And that concludes that.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Would this be in connection with the senior center?
Yes, it would.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Next, you have consider ordinance O-2534, an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Hot Springs Code regarding landscape regulations, repealing ordinance number 5995 and for the other purposes. And again, Ms. Selby.
Thank you. The proposed landscape code promulgates the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Hot Springs by establishing reasonable standards for the preservation, planting, and care of natural vegetation and introduce landscaping to advance the objectives of the city's comprehensive plan, Forward Hot Springs 2040. The proposed ordinance would apply to new multifamily, mixed-use, non-residential parking lot, parking structure, and planned developments, and to certain expansion of those types of projects. The proposal contains many illustrations. If you will recall, the current code has 0 illustrations and a rather complicated point system, which requires re-understanding by anyone who uses it every time they have a new project. So this will be much more user-friendly. City Forester Alan Bates and the Hot Springs Urban Forestry Advisory Committee cooperated with the Planning Commission in putting this draft together. Hot Springs Urban Forestry Advisory Committee, at its duly advertised July 22nd, 2025 meeting, unanimously recommended approving the new landscape ordinance. Planning Commission, likewise, at their August meeting, by their 7-0 vote, recommend board approval of the ordinance. It should be noted that our zoning code no longer prescribes minimum parking requirements, leaving that decision to each developer. In doing that, we were at a disadvantage trying to administer a landscape code that was based on the number of parking spaces that somebody would have. So hence the need for something revised. In looking at what the impact would be of this, we evaluated 2 recent projects, the 7 Brew on Albert Pike and Arkansas Dermatology on Twin Points Road, to compare the requirements of the current landscape code, which governed their site requirements, to what would have been required under the proposed code. And not knowing what to expect, we very carefully reviewed their site plans. For 7 Brew, which is a drive-up operation now found in multiple states, the current code prescribed 1 tree more than the proposed code would have. For Arkansas Dermatology, a medium-sized local medical clinic, the new code required 1 additional parking island for a long row of parking spaces, but no additional planting. So it appears that in terms of cost for new development, it is close to a wash, and in some cases provides more advantage to reduce cost than the existing code. And that concludes that.
Any questions of Ms. Selman on this item? Director Garcia.
Thank you. And this will be, the entirety of this new ordinance will be in our packet. And it was based on the Hot Springs Forward is the basis.
Yes, it is.
And all of those components relating to that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Your last item on the agenda is consider ordinance O-2535, an ordinance amending Hot Springs Code 15-4-5C, ordinance number 6439, updating the reinspection fee as set out in the mechanical permit fee schedule. And Ms. Selman, once again.
Thank you. This ordinance would correct a typo in ordinance number 6439. On August 16th of 2022, the Board of Directors adopted ordinance 6439 entitled An Ordinance Adopting the 2022 Hot Springs Mechanical Code. That ordinance is codified as Hot Springs Code Section 1545. In the packet presented to the board in 2022, a red line version of the code was presented that reflected an increase in the reinspection fee from $40 to $50. Now, with reinspection, the first reinspection, there is no charge. The second reinspection incurs a fee. The draft that was attached to the resolution incorrectly listed that revised fee rather than $50 as being $4. So this ordinance corrects that error, stating that the reinspection fee is $50.
Any questions on this item? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, that concludes the items for your next Tuesday's meeting.
Very good. And as Bill said, we'll reconvene on Tuesday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. and we'll formally address these items. In the meantime, have a safe and enjoyable holiday Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you all here Tuesday. We are adjourned.